Hey guys, Rick here from Stony Acres Gardening. Welcome. Hello, hello. Haven't had a chance to really check to see how many people. The last time I looked, we had a dozen or more people that were waiting. So the system will tell me here in a minute when we've kind of settled in. So welcome is what we're going to do today is we are celebrating the 5-year anniversary of the Gardening Academy. So the Gardening Academy is our monthly membership service. I'm not going to do a ton of selling or anything like that in this. It's just kind of a celebration video. We do have a new bundle that's out that we'll talk about a little bit, but more than anything, I just wanted to celebrate the fact that we've been around. The Gardening Academy's been around for 5 years now. Another big deal that happened this week is we also broke 150,000 subscribers on YouTube. So we were excited about that as well. So go ahead, and what we're going to do is kind of run through a bunch of questions. We've had a lot of people that pre-submitted questions, and we're going to answer those questions. And then AJ is in the background, and she is kind of monitoring the feed. I'm going to be busy answering questions, so she's going to monitor the feed and talk a little bit more, and she'll kind of highlight any questions. So do me one favor. If you have a question that you would like to ask, start your question with 3 question marks. Question mark, question mark, question mark. That way you will, it'll kind of show up and AJ can see it and make sure that we highlight that. So how is everybody? What's your weather like? We have finally cooled off. We were solidly still in the high 80s and occasionally a 90s here and there, and gone. All of a sudden, the bottom fell out of it on Monday. We were only like 68 on Monday, and Tuesday about the same. Now we're back up kind of into the mid 70s, and it's beautiful. I'm loving it. We didn't have any frost, and so that was nice. And now we're kind of just maintaining a really nice kind of pre-fall temperature. And I'm loving it a lot because the tomatoes are still ripening slowly, but they didn't freeze. And so that's good. One other thing I wanted to do is say welcome to those of you that are joining us on the Facebook page, because we're also doing this stream both on YouTube and on the Facebook page. So wanted to welcome those people as well. All right, Amy's saying in VA, is that Vermont, Virginia? I'm not sure. VA is, sorry. Fall weather, 70s, loving it. Rose says frost coming within the next 2 weeks. So Sharon, hi. Sir Duke is saying it's 101 still. Wow. Holly's saying still stuck in the 90s, which is never fun. Yeah, Virginia. Thanks, Amy. Sorry about that. So, okay, good. Well, sounds like fun. All right. Well, we've got a pretty good group here. So let's go ahead. I'm going to run through, answer a few questions. The plan here is to just stick with about an hour. So we're going to hang out here for about an hour. We'll answer some questions and kind of go through that. Maybe before we get started. Oh, and I have prizes too. So we've got a seed collection, one of these from True Leaf Market. This is my fall and winter seed collection. We've got one of these to give away. True Leaf Market also gave us a sprouting kit. So a jar with some seeds and a sprouting kit that we're going to give away. And then we're going to give away a couple of free courses and things like that as we kind of go through as well. So that is kind of the plan. And we'll end up right around an hour is the plan for time tonight. And then you guys can go enjoy your Friday evening. All right. Okay. So let's do this. Let's give away a prize first. That way I don't get behind on that. So as what we did with the prizes, we had to do a pre-register because we don't know how this software works live. And so we didn't get a chance to test it out. So we did a pre-register. And so everybody that pre-registered, we put your name into a random number generator and came up with the winners. And so let me give you let's take this off first. I'm going to give you the winner for the seed collection. So this is my fall and winter seed collection, 17 seeds, great little collection that True Leaf let me kind of curate and put together. So one of these, we're going to give that away. And the winner for this one is Pat. in Columbus, Ohio. And we've got Pat's email address. So Pat, we will email you with to get your information, your mailing information, and we'll get that sent out to you here in the next week or so. And truly just going to send that directly out. So congratulations to Pat for winning the seed collection. Okay. All right. Let's talk really quick about this cool bundle that I have happening right now. So part of the Gardening Academy is our membership we have mini courses that we do. And is what we've done for kind of this celebration is we pulled some of those mini courses out. Normally those would sell for $30 each. And we put 3 of them in a bundle. Whoops. And here it is. Okay. So we put 3 of those in a bundle, and they'd normally be $90, and we've got them down to $45, half off. So 3 different mini courses here. We've got our organic natural pest control. We've got using organic fertilizers and amendments, and we've got homemade composting. Altogether, this is about 3 hours worth of education. Each one of the courses is about an hour long. One's a little bit shorter, one's a little bit longer. So it comes out pretty close to 3 hours. So 3 hours worth of stuff for $45. There's a link in the description of the video if you want to go check that out. We'll kind of send out some emails and stuff about this as well. But I wanted to do this. This is a chance for those of you that aren't members of the Gardening Academy to get a little sample of what the Gardening Academy is all like. And if you like it, let me know, because we may be able to do some kind of a deal to get you into the Gardening Academy with a discount because you bought this bundle. So I'll let you know about that as well. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. Okay, let's get to some questions. So I'll turn that off for now. All right. So I kind of asked people to focus on fall questions because it is fall. And so we wanted to make sure we were answering things that would help. So let me do one of the pre-submitted questions first. This one is from Rose, and I think I saw Rose in the comment section. She asked if I have ever tried overwintering pepper plants, and is it worth it, or should I stick to growing pepper seedlings? So I have tried it a couple of times, but I'm going to be honest with you. I am awful about things that I put away in the wintertime and to take care of. We have tried geraniums before. I tried an artichoke, and I never remember. I put them in the garage, in a warm spot in the garage, and I'm terrible about remembering. So I've actually never been successful with the overwintering the pepper plants. I know some people that have done it. The one advantage or the benefit that you get is you will get an early harvest from those peppers. But I don't know that overall you're going to get any bigger harvest than you would otherwise. And you still have to be careful. Those plants are still going to be sensitive to those cool temperatures in the spring. If you put them out too soon, they're going to get set back. So, after me struggling, to keep those guys even partially alive, because they only need to stay partially alive over the winter, I have kind of just given up on that idea and not really tried it much since. And I just go ahead and start new peppers every year. We rotate through different varieties of peppers. We're constantly exploring different things. This year we've done some chilies, some Anaheim chilies and things like that are new. And so I like to just start them from seed and get them going that way. So Rose, that's kind of my opinion. You can give it a try. I don't know that it's not, from everything that I've read and all the videos that I've watched, it's not earth shattering. So it's not like you're going to suddenly get this amazing pepper harvest that's going to be so much greater than it would have been otherwise. You may just get a few peppers a little bit earlier, but beyond that, it's not really an earth-shattering thing that's going to help a ton, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. We'll do another of the pre-submitted questions here. This one's from Joe. I'm an urban gardener, yeah. And do I have any tricks to keep the neighborhood cats from using your garden as a litter box? So good question. There's a few different ideas that you could definitely try. One is forks. So you can, like the plastic forks that you can buy, you can stick those in the soil with the end in first. And that will let you kind of keep those cats from actually getting down there and squatting in the thing. That's kind of annoying and a little bit of a pain. A couple of other things that are probably going to help you with other pest problems as well would be you could cover those beds with a bug netting. So throw a hoop over them and put a bug netting over them. That's going to keep your bugs out, and it's going to keep the cats out. You could try using like a bird netting as well if you wanted to. That's not going to help with pests, but definitely could keep the cats out, or get a dog. Basically are the ideas. I've also read that like putting cinnamon down in the bed or cayenne pepper in the bed can be helpful, but as soon as it rains or you water your beds, that kind of goes away. But you could try some of those practices as well. But beyond getting your neighbor to take care of their cat, it's sometimes a little bit tough. That one's a little bit hard because cats are relatively smart and kind of have their own way of doing things. So yeah, that one's a little bit tough. At least the one nice thing about cats is at least they don't bother most of our produce. They're not like eating our tomatoes like a squirrel would or something like that. So that's at least nice. Okay, so this one is a really good question from Nancy. And Nancy's asking about quality of frost blankets. So a frost blanket, I also will call them fabric row covers. They come in different weights, and that's what Nancy's asking about. So she has one that is a 1.05 ounce per square yard of weight. And she's wondering how many degrees of difference that one will make. So let me kind of give you a little background on how fabric row covers work. We have basically light fabric row covers, medium fabric row covers, and heavy fabric row covers. The weight distribution would be light fabric row covers would be anything from about 0.7 ounces per square yard up to about 0.95 ounces per square yard. Okay, that's light fabric row covers. We use light fabric row covers mostly for pest protection. They do offer a little bit of frost protection, maybe 1 to 2 degrees of frost protection. So they are good to put over like leafy greens and other frost tolerant plants. They'll help to make a nice warm environment in the spring and in the fall, but they really don't do a lot of frost protection. They're usually more for pest protection. Okay. Then we have medium fabric row covers, and medium fabric row covers kind of go from about 1 ounce per square yard up to about 1.5. Okay. Those are medium, and they will usually give you somewhere between 3 to 5 degrees of frost protection. So if it were 32 degrees out, if it was 27 degrees out, you would still have protection. So those would be medium fabric row covers. So the one that you have is medium, okay? My personal opinion is that if you're buying new ones, and so I'm not saying you have to go out and buy new ones, but if you're going to buy new ones, I would encourage you to buy heavy fabric row covers because they give you the highest level of protection. So a heavy fabric row cover is going to be 1.5 to 2 ounces per square yard. The heavy fabric row covers give you a lot of real good advantages. Number one, they're going to protect 6 to 8 degrees. So you may get all the way down to about 24 degrees Fahrenheit in your frost protection. And they last longer than any other row fabric by far. So I have pieces of row fabric. I started doing fall and winter gardening 15 seasons ago. So this year will be our 15th season. So all of this stuff that I bought that first year will be 15 years old here in another month or so. And all of the heavy fabric row covers that I purchased 15 years ago are still in my garden rotation. Now, they're a little bit tattered. They've had plenty of abuse over 15 years, but they still work and they're still intact. They haven't just like disintegrated. Light fabric row covers after 1 or 2 seasons just kind of disintegrate. And medium fabric row covers will last a little bit longer, but the heavy ones give you more protection and they last forever. So I would always encourage you to go for those heavy fabric row covers whenever you can. Okay. All right. Let's, I'm going to jump over and we'll take a couple of live comments here. So let's see if AJ has had a chance to star some questions for me. Tim is asking, what is the best resource for troubleshooting diseases on my vegetables? I'm in Northwest Florida, still in the mid 90s here, and I won't get any relief until late October. Not a ton of fun there. So there are a few different apps out there. I don't have a ton of experience with any of those apps because honestly, I'm not like a plant disease expert, but I'm pretty good at kind of self-diagnosing my stuff in my garden. So I've never really had a need for one of those apps. But if you look up, there's 2 or 3 of those gardening apps that will have some plant disease identification functions to it. The other thing that I would recommend that you do is get really familiar with your local extension agency website. So in Florida, you should have an extension agency. One of your universities in Florida will be your agricultural college. I don't know which one it is. Here in Utah, it's Utah State University, but one of your Florida universities will be the actual agricultural college. And get familiar with their website. They should have an extension agency that will have some gardening information for you. And that's going to be your best resource because they're going to be talking about the diseases that are specific to your area. There are things that are happening in your area, both pests and diseases that don't even happen in Utah at all because of the difference in the climate. And so you wouldn't want to rely on Utah State's pest identification stuff. You would instead want to go to your Florida one. So that would be my biggest recommendation, is figure out what that agricultural college is for your state. And if you live in Canada, there's a lot of agricultural colleges in Canada as well. And so you can kind of figure out something similar there. But figure that out and get familiar with their website because they're going to give you the best identification tools. Really, that's probably the best for you. So Tim, hopefully that helps. And then Sue is asking, how do you ripen tomatoes that are still green? We're going to be freezing and I need to pick all my tomatoes before it freezes. Okay, great question, Sue. So this is a really good one. If you, and this will kind of be slightly embarrassing for me, but if you go and onto my Facebook page or YouTube channel and you look back, there's early on. So just go search my channel, how to ripen green tomatoes. There's a video and it's like one of the very first videos that I ever did. But you can actually go watch that video, but I'll kind of give you a rundown here. So with your green tomatoes is what you want to do. First off, anything that's got any color to them at all, those are for sure going to ripen. Okay. So I will go out and I pick the biggest tomatoes. The little tiny ones, there's a pretty good chance they're not going to ripen before they actually rot. And so you want to choose good sized tomatoes, okay? And they're, depending on how many tomato plants you have, for me, we've got 15 plants. And so when our frost comes first part of October, middle of October, there's a lot of tomatoes left there. So you're going to go ahead and pick the bigger ones, ones that are decent sized, at least grocery store sized tomatoes. You're going to bring those in and you're going to sort them based on color. So if they're orange or pretty solidly pink, we're starting to get quite a bit of color on them. You want those in one box. Then you're going to sort the ones that are just starting to show a little bit of a blush of color in another box. And then you're going to sort the solidly green ones that aren't showing any red or orange at all in another box, okay? Because they're going to ripen at different stages. So the red ones are going to ripen relatively quickly, and those will probably be pretty tasty. So the ones that have most of their ripening done will still be in pretty good shape. The kind of the middle box is going to take a little bit longer to ripen. They'll kind of ripen slowly over the next few weeks. And those will taste pretty much like a grocery store tomato, okay? They're not going to be quite as good as the ones that you picked all summer long, but they're still going to be okay. Then the green box is going to take much longer to pick, and I like to manage that box relatively well. You'll start to see some of those changing color, and I will usually take them out because I don't want the whole box to ripen all at once. I want them to ripen slowly. So when they start to get some color on them, I'll pull them out and set them on the counter, and then they'll kind of ripen on their own. And then that way I kind of get this slow cycle. And there are some years that we will still have tomatoes as late as New Year's. I remember it's been a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, but we actually made a big batch of salsa for New Year's Eve on, out of garden tomatoes that we had picked all the way back in October. So you can get those to last and they'll ripen over the next couple of months. Some of them are going to get moldy and you're going to throw them out. So you kind of just have to keep watching them. I would check on them every couple of days, but you can keep them, if you've got a garage that doesn't freeze, you can keep them there. You can keep them in your basement. The warmer it is, the faster they're going to ripen. But you kind of just learn to manage those, and you should actually, have some pretty good success with that. So that's how you do it. Now, if you've got a little chance before it freezes, there's a few things you can do. Your plants, you can prune them. So if you top them, that is going to help pull off any of the fruit that has any color to it at all. That will force the other fruit to start ripening. You can also root prune. So you can take your spade or shovel and kind of cut around about a foot away from the base of the plant, and that will root prune, and that stresses the plant out. And then the other thing you can do is stop watering. So if you cut the water off, and if you're watering every 5 days right now, make it every 10 or 12 days. That's going to stress the plant out. All of those things will cause the fruit that's on the plant to ripen a little bit faster. So hopefully that helps, Sue. All right, let's see here. Rose, looks like Rose has got some advice for you too there, Sue. Let's give away another prize. So here we go. Let me get back over here in my system. So let's do another one. We already did reminder, Pat, if you happen to be here now, you won the seed collection. So now let's do, and by the way, big thank you to True Leaf Market for sponsoring some prizes for us. They've been a super good sponsor, and I love having them around to do things like this. So let's give away the sprouting kit. So this is a starter sprouting kit. It comes with a jar and a lid, a stainless steel lid, and then a bunch of seeds. So it comes with 3 or 4 packages of seeds to kind of get you started on your sprouting adventure, we're moving into sprouting time. Next month, we're going to be doing a live webinar on sprouting and microgreens and things like that. So we're definitely moving into that time of year. So here's who wins that one. The winner is Amy from Phoenix, Arizona. And Amy, we have your email, and so we will send you an email really quick, and you'll get that, and then we'll get your address and get that shipped out to you. So congratulations to Amy, and again, thank you to True Leaf Market for sponsoring those 2 prizes. Super excited to have them on board for that. So congratulations, Amy. All right, let's see. We are 23 minutes in, so let's go over and answer another question or so. All right, just checking out the comments here. Okay, let's answer one of the pre-submitted questions. So let me find the next one. This is a good one. So Barb is asking about fertilizing needs for our fall gardens. What, if any, fertilizer is best to use in the fall, as there's so many things in the fall garden that are heavy feeders? And Barb is right. We do have quite a few, when we're talking about leafy greens and brassicas, those are pretty heavy feeders, and heavy feeders means that they like nitrogen. And so it can be a good idea to fertilize with some high nitrogen fertilizer if you have a problem. Now, I never recommend just throwing fertilizer at your garden. If you've had a soil test done, and that soil test indicates that your soil is low in nitrogen, then yes, you should do some fertilizing. But if you have been, amending with compost and taking good care of your soil, you may not need to fertilize. I very rarely fertilize. The only things I fertilize consistently are corn and my garlic and onions. Beyond that, most things kind of just manage on their own without fertilizer, because I take good care of my soil. But if you feel like that they do need some fertilizer, then in the fall, you're going to go with a high nitrogen fertilizer. So you're going to use something like, if you're looking for something organic, which I'm always going to use organic, you could use like a blood meal or something that's blood meal or alfalfa meal based. You could use a fish emulsion. There are several different mixtures or formulations of fish emulsion out there. The brand that I recommend, and I have no affiliation with them, I just have used them forever, is Alaska brand fish emulsion, and they have a 5-1-1 mix. So it's mostly nitrogen, and I'm always really happy when I use that. I'll use that with my seedlings, and then when things need a little boost, I will use that. So and a fish emulsion, you're just going to water in. Some of the others, you may be mixing them into the soil and then watering the soil. But if you really feel like it needs it, then I would probably say a little boost from some fish emulsion or something like that is what you're going to need. So, and what will do good. So that would be my recommendation there. Okay. All right. Thanks, Barb, for your question. Rhonda is asking this, and this is a good one. Rhonda is in Michigan. Can I plant in the fall? Absolutely, yes, you can. I'd love to do some potatoes this fall. So, Rhonda, fall potatoes are hit and miss, okay? You definitely could plant some fall potatoes. You're not going to harvest fall planted. If you plant them now, they're not going to be ready, okay? Obviously, until next spring. They'll be early spring potatoes. It can be a little bit problematic, especially the further north you go, which Michigan is relatively far north. So chances are that you're going to lose some of those potatoes because of the freezing and everything like that. You've got some pretty solidly cold temperatures in Michigan for the most part, and so there's a good chance that you're going to lose some of those. But recognize that anything you plant right now that isn't a seedling doesn't have a chance of being done before winter comes. We're too late for those of us that live in the north. Now, if you live in the south, there's still plenty of stuff that you can grow. But those of us that live in the north who have a first frost, because most of us that live in the north, our first frost is at the very most 6 weeks away, probably less than that. Our first frost is 2.5, 3 weeks away, probably here in Utah. But most of us in the north, we're going to have a first frost by November 1st at the very latest. So it's a little bit too late to get things to mature this time of year. The other problem with planting this late, like from seed, is that we're running out of sunlight. The days are getting shorter and shorter. I haven't looked for a little while, but the last time I looked, here in Utah, our day length was down to under 12 hours. Hang on, I'm just going to look it up on my phone. Let me see. Should tell me how long the day is here. So we're just a little shy of 12 hours now. And that is going to drop off really quickly. And that's one of the biggest problems that we have with fall planting is we run out of daylight. We just don't have enough sun. So if you don't have seedlings, I've still got lettuce seedlings and things like that are going to be going out this week. Those will do okay because they're, already 6 weeks along. But if you don't have seedlings already and you can't find some in a nursery, then you're probably going to want to just hold off and try again next year. And what you want to do is you want to target about 8 weeks before your first frost date is when you're going to get those planted. So, for you in Michigan, I would imagine that your first frost date is mid-October or maybe earlier than that. And so you're going to want to be planting sometime in August is when you want to get those started so that they're then mature and they mature in the fall. So, and then if you want to try some potatoes, go ahead and get some. If you can find some potato seeds, you can plant them. Just recognize that you're gonna lose a certain percentage of those potatoes because of the cold weather over the winter. But you can certainly try them out. Some people have really good success. It just kind of depends on where you live. For me, it's never really worked out super great. But we do have some that will come up that are fall planted or even volunteers that do pretty well, but not amazing like our spring potatoes do. So, all right. Oh, this is a good question. So this one comes from Simple R Us. We didn't get the name. Which is better to cover a garden for winter? Planting a cover crop or covering the soil with compost, mulch, leaves, etc. So it depends a little bit on where you live. For me, it's really hard to get a cover crop in the fall. Not impossible, but it's kind of hard because like right now is when I should be planting a cover crop so that it gets up and gets established before the cold weather comes. But my garden's still loaded. It's still completely full. You know, I'm still 3 or 4 weeks away from cleaning everything out. I've still got tomatoes and peppers and sweet potatoes that I haven't harvested, and all of my squash and everything is still out there. I really don't have anywhere to plant a cover crop. So, and then by the time I do have space, it's a little bit too late in the year for it to come up. So in my case, then we will cover, you know, we'll put compost in, and you can do leaves and things like that. Either one of them is going to be beneficial. Honestly, you know, depending on what your weather conditions are like in the wintertime, it may not matter. You don't have to cover your beds. We don't cover farm fields, you know, in the wintertime. So you don't have to cover, but for sure, compost, mulching with leaves, etc., is going to be beneficial. But again, it's not the end of the world if you don't do it. But you could certainly do that. If you live in an area where, you know, you kind of get a frost and then you still have some longer time, you could definitely plant a cover crop. I'd probably go for something that's a little bit higher in nitrogen. So like maybe a vetch or a clover, anything in the bean families would be really beneficial as well. So you could definitely try those. It's just a matter of whether you can get them in before, you know, you actually have a run out of daylight, basically. Okay, and then kind of to go along with that, let's answer Linda's question. Is it too late to plant a cover crop in Hudson Fall, New York, Zone 5A? That hasn't changed. So again, you know, more than anything, your requirements are going to be whether or not you're going to have enough light for that crop to actually germinate and grow. Certainly not going to hurt to try. If it doesn't come up, you're out $5 worth of seed, and you know to plant it earlier next year. So yeah, I would go ahead and, you know, especially in Zone 5A, you probably got a week or two before your first frost, and you know, a little bit of growing time left. So you could certainly give it a try if you've got the space. You know, if you've got room and empty beds right now, you could certainly get those cover crops planted. Okay. All right. Let's jump over and answer another one of our live questions. And remember, guys, if you've got a question that you want to have answered, start it with a few question marks so that AJ can see that, and it kind of highlights it. So go ahead and do that. And let's see what we've got here. What do I use? Good question, Samuel. What do I use to control aphids? So a couple of different things that you can do for aphids. Number one is exclude them. Okay, so use some type of a barrier to keep them out of your plants. That doesn't help if you already have them. We'll get to that in a second. So you already have aphids. You know, we'll get to that. But the best thing to do to keep aphids off of your plants is to cover your beds with some type of barrier, either a light fabric row cover. So that would be a fabric row cover that's like 0.65 to 0.95 ounces per square yard, or they sell bug netting now, relatively inexpensive too. So I just recently bought a big piece of bug netting. The brand name was Ag Fabric. I think I just got it on Amazon, but the brand name was Ag Fabric. The piece was, it was 16 by 40 feet for $40. I ended up cutting that into 4 pieces, and it's enough for me to cover 4 of my beds. And so you put that bug netting on immediately. So again, that's something that you do as soon as you plant your seeds, or as soon as you put your transplants out, you put that bug netting over. And I have hoops that I put it over, depending on the crop. Some other times I just kind of throw it over and hold it up with some stakes. But if you get that bug netting out, then the aphids can't get in and you never have a problem. And that's been, for me, the most effective way to control aphids by far. I mean, since we started using bug netting, and like this year, we put a light fabric grow cover over the top of some kale that we had growing this summer. And we had a storm come through and there was a tear on that fabric grow cover and it tore that cover off. And I got a little lazy and didn't get out there to get that put back on. And we got aphids, okay? But most years, if I don't, if I make sure that that barrier is in place, then we don't have a problem, okay? Now, if you already have aphids, there's a couple of things you can do. Well, three things actually. So the first would be if you can catch them early, you can actually just spray them off with water. Aphids are not very mobile. What you're seeing, the aphids on your plants are actually not very mobile. And so if you can just spray them off with water, take your hose and give them a good spray on those plants and under the leaves and everything and spray them off, they'll fall to the ground. And it's very unlikely that they're ever going to find their way back to your plants. Okay, they're going to just die. They're going to be exposed to the predators, and they're most likely going to die. So that's the first thing you should do. If that is not effective, then you can make some homemade insecticidal soap, and you make that by using it. You mix 1 tablespoon of pure Castile soap. So this is like Dr. Bonner's soap. And you can buy them if you go to like Target or places like that. You can get just little ones, so you don't have to buy the great big 32-ounce jar. You can just get a little 8-ounce jar of it because you're only going to use a tablespoon and it's going to last quite a while. Mix 1 tablespoon to a quart of water in a spray bottle, and then you want to directly apply that to the aphids, okay? And try and do it either early in the morning or in the evening after the sun has gone down, just to make sure that you don't accidentally spray some of your beneficials, your pollinators or things like that. So you're going to go ahead and spray those. Watch out for ladybugs. You don't want to be, if there's ladybugs on there, let them do their work. But you'll spray that insecticidal soap on there and that smothers them. The oils in the soap will actually smother and kill them. And so that's really effective. If that doesn't work, you can always upgrade to neem. I'm not a big fan of neem because it's a broader, even though it's organic, it's a very broad insecticide, and it's going to kill a lot more than just your targeted plants. It hangs around longer, but if you can't get the problem under control with other methods, then you could try some neem as well if you wanted. Now I'm not going to give you the instructions on that because I want you to read the label. So that you're sure that you're doing it correctly for whatever manufacturer you have. So those are the 3 methods. Barrier method is going to, just save your life and make it a ton easier if you'll get something covered out there. Okay. All right. So Sherry is asking, what are my thoughts on pruning suckered tomato plants? I do a little bit of pruning early in the season of suckers. I'm not faithful about it. When I have a chance of, I'm out working in the garden and I see some suckers growing, I will pinch those off. But I'm not a huge proponent of that. The reason why people say that you should do that is because those suckers don't produce as well as some of the other vines, and so they kind of steal resources from the plant. That's not 100% established science. So the one thing that I will tell you is that you should do some pruning to your tomatoes, especially your indeterminate tomatoes. If I get lazy and don't get out there and kind of keep things under control, you get this giant mat of plants. And so you do want to do some thinning and some pruning, whether it's the suckers or other parts of your plant, just to kind of keep maintenance. And, once the fruit down at the bottom have come on and ripened, those branches down there are not going to produce anything more. And so you can cut those off, and that helps to open up the plant and get better air circulation. That's going to help keep some of your fungal diseases away and powdery mildew and things like that. So pruning and kind of being out there and working on it is a good thing to do. I don't know that there's that big of a benefit from sucker pruning. other than it kind of just helps keep the plant under control. So that's my thoughts on that, okay? And then Karen is asking, grow bags with squash with powdery mildew, can you reuse the soil? I probably wouldn't, at least not for squash, because that powdery mildew may be squash plant specific. And so you may be able to grow some other things in that, especially in the spring before powdery mildew shows back up. But I would probably replace that, or possibly try and sterilize that potting soil. You could sterilize it using boiling water, maybe even more effective to bring it in and bake it in your oven. You want to look up the instructions on how to do that. You have to keep the temperature of the soil between 160 and 200 degrees. You don't want it to get any hotter than 200 degrees, because then it starts to burn and it actually puts off some toxins. The peat and all that kind of stuff that's in there will put off some toxins. So that you could try that, or you could just replace it. But I know that's expensive, and so it's frustrating. But they probably didn't get the powdery mildew from the soil, probably because powdery mildew, will come through the air, but it is also soil borne as well. And so there's a good chance that next year they would get it from the soil. So I would probably, if it were me, I would probably replace it, or definitely don't plant squash in that next year, because you're more likely to have that in squash. Okay. All right. Let's go. We're 41 minutes in. I did want to just remind everybody, because I know we have people that are kind of in and out. Make sure you check out, how do I make, there we go, hide that. Okay. Make sure you go check out in the comment section, or in the description of the video, and then pinned in the comments is a link to go and buy our organic gardening 3-course bundle. This is brand new, by the way. We just put this out today. So it's got 3 courses. These are all mini courses, so they're about an hour long each. One of them is an hour and 15 minutes. One's 45. One's about an hour total. So we've got natural pest control, which that's a brand new course. We just barely published that last week. And then homemade composting, and then how to use organic fertilizers in your garden. And those 3, normally they're going to sell for $90. But we're going to do the special on the 3-course bundle, only $45 for those. And those are all 3 some of the best mini courses that I've done for the Gardening Academy. And we thought that we would give you guys an opportunity to check them out and see what you think about those mini courses. We do a new mini course like these every month in the Gardening Academy. We have over 35 mini courses in the Gardening Academy right now. And so this is a chance for you to maybe test drive some of those and see what you think. And if you like them and you might be interested in joining the Gardening Academy, there's also a link in the description for the Gardening Academy. We're offering $5 off right now to celebrate our 5-year anniversary. So you can sign up for the Gardening Academy for $20, and you get to watch all of these courses anyway. So either way, links in the description of this video. So make sure you go check those out. Okay. All right, let's get back to questions. We're going to go about another 15 minutes. I've got a couple more of the pre-submitted questions that I'm going to go through, and then we'll give away, I'm going to actually give away one of those bundles. You know what? Let's do that right now. So let's give away a 3-course bundle. So this one comes straight from us, and we're going to give away a free copy of that. And this one goes to Gordon, who lives in Lacey, Washington. So congratulations to Gordon. We'll shoot you an email, and you can just get signed up for that, and we'll add it to your profile for free. So congratulations, Gordon. He wins that prize. So congratulations. All right, let's finish up with our pre-submitted questions, and then we'll kind of finish out the time. We've still got 60 plus people here. So, okay, this was a great one. So this is from Linda. Is it too late? Oh, wait, no, sorry. We already answered that one. It was this one that I wanted to do. This is from Karen. I have bell peppers in a green stalk that are doing great. Can I bring that tier of peppers inside with lights and a window and let those peppers finish growing? Okay. And I had to truncate Karen's question just a little bit. She did also mention that her nighttime temperatures are down in the 40s. So Karen, if you haven't had frost yet, then you can keep them out there. Normally we say peppers don't like temperatures below 50 degrees, which is true, they don't. But that's in the springtime. When they have those temperatures that are below 50 degrees in the spring, it stunts the progress of the plant, okay? So it keeps the plant from blossoming and things like that. That doesn't apply right now because all of that fruit has already blossomed. So right now, if your temperatures are still just in the 40s and you don't have any, chances of 30s yet, you're probably better off to leave them outside. Okay, they'll probably progress further outside than they will inside. Now, once it gets, into the 30s and you've got chances of freezing at night, then obviously you can definitely bring them in. Then a good sunny window with a grow light, if you've got a grow light, is probably going to help them progress. That's not something that I have actually done myself, but bringing it in and letting those guys kind of finish, especially if they're in a container, you're going to be in pretty good shape. So, give it a try. But for now, since you're still in the 40s, I would because, if you're in the 40s at night, you're probably in the 70s during the daytime. That's still good temperatures for those peppers to continue to mature and to ripen. So, give it, obviously watch your weather closely, but, give it some time. The other thing is, remember, peppers are edible all the time, pretty much any point in their development. We'll end up the night before or the day before we have our first freeze, we go out and strip our pepper plants down, take any remaining peppers off, and then we just bring them in, wash them off, chop them up and throw them in the freezer. And then we just, you can use those all winter long, no matter what stage of greenness they're in. They may not be as good as if they were ripe, but they're still going to be good and usable for sure. But I would, for now, I try and Karen leave those in the garden for as long as you can. Okay. This one comes from Suzette, and she is wondering, with her fall lettuce, will containers that are 6.5 inches deep be okay to put transplants in? Yes, that's fine. Lettuce could probably get away with 4 inches of soil, maybe even a little less than that. Lettuce doesn't have super deep roots, especially like leaf lettuces. They don't have, super deep roots. So 6.5 inch deep container is going to be okay. You also asked, though, do I need to put white, fluffy, well-drained potting soil in, or can I use a mix of potting soil and garden soil? So that's a good question. I am not a really big fan of using garden soil in containers, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, we're taking the soil from its natural environment, okay, where it's, everything's in balance, hopefully, in our garden. The microbes, the bacterias, everything like that are in balance in our garden. We're taking that soil and sticking it in a container that's not its natural environment. And so that tends to magnify any problems that normally might be in balance out in the garden will be magnified in your containers. So bacterial problems, fungus problems, pest problems will all spring up when they're tucked into those containers. And then depending on how much clay you have in your soil, sticking clay soil in a container and watering it every few days is just going to create a brick. Okay. So those are the two reasons why I don't really recommend that you use garden soil in containers. Even if you're mixing it with with a potting soil, you're going to have some problems or some issues. So normally I'm going to recommend that you use some potting soil. You can make your own, out of some peat moss or some cocoa coir with some perlite, maybe some compost in there as well, or you can buy a store mix and do it that way. So, but I'm not a big fan of putting garden soil in containers just because it kind of concentrates problems. All right, this one's a fertilizer question. What is the it's a celery question. Sorry, I forgot. What is the best way to plant and grow celery for a successful crop? Fertilizer, pest prevention, doesn't need to be tied up, and if so, at what point? This is Maddie. So Maddie, great question. First off, let's address the last question first. Does it need to be tied up? Most celeries that we buy nowadays, seeds, are what we call self-blanching, and they don't really need to be tied up. So just read your seed package and see, what needs to happen. Some celeries like some dark time, and so we can tie them, and then that helps to kind of blanch those inner stalks. But most varieties now are what we call self-blanching, and they don't really need that. So probably you don't need to do that. So how do we have a good, successful crop of celery? So the key is to get them planted relatively early in the season. So I don't know where you live exactly, Maddie, but for us, we live in zone 6. We're going to start our seedlings indoors in February. Okay. So that is mid-February, is about 3 months before our first frost date. Okay. Celery is a very slow grower. And so you're going to start them about 3 months before your first frost date, and you want to put them out about a month before your first frost date. So for us, we want to put them out in the garden about April 15th, which is a month before our first frost date. And then just a good balanced fertilizer is okay. If you've got a phosphorus problem in your garden, a shortage, then you might, celery likes a little more phosphorus. So if you've had a soil test that says you've got a phosphorus issue, you could add a fertilizer that's a little higher in the last number. Phosphorus is your last number. But just a good balanced fertilizer if your soil even needs it. Again, if you're taking care of your soil, you may not need fertilizer. Pest prevention is best done with some type of a barrier. So, again, plant them in a raised bed where you can cover that raised bed with a bug netting. That's going to keep the pests out. And then just make sure that they're well watered. They do like water. You don't want to drown them, but you want to make sure that they have consistent water. And hopefully that will kind of get you off and running with your celery. Okay. And then this is our last of our pre-submitted questions. What is best for raised beds and 100-gallon grow bags in the fall? I was planning on putting compost and leaves in, and then I got a newsletter that said maybe growing a cover crop. Okay. So again, it depends on where you live for the cover crops. There's nothing wrong with cover crops. Okay. They're a great idea if you have the ability to do that. Again, we don't really have that ability because our beds are full up until, well into the season where we're past the time to get cover crops to germinate. So, if you live somewhere where you can get a cover crop to grow and to germinate, cover crops are awesome and would do great. But adding some compost to the soil, mixing it in, especially in your raised beds and your grow bags, mixing that into that. We're not going to dig all the way down and turn the soil or anything like that, but mixing it into the top, 3 inches or so of your soil with some compost, and then covering with, some leaves, some straw, anything like that is going to be beneficial for those beds. And so you certainly can do that. But again, you don't have to do that. Plenty of people don't cover their gardens. I never cover my garden, partially because a good percentage of it is being used for my winter garden. But I never have covered my garden, and most gardeners that I know don't cover their gardens. So you certainly can, and it's, there's some benefits to it, but it's also not the end of the world if you don't cover your garden beds. Containers, I will try and drag my containers to a protected area. 100-gallon containers, you're probably not going to be able to do that. I've got a 100-gallon, just one. I've got 100-gallon grow bag. It's not going anywhere. But some of the smaller grow bags and things like that, I usually will try and put them in a protected area up against a fence under the eaves of the building or something like that, just to give them a little extra protection over the winter. But overall, your garden will be fine if you don't cover it, but there are benefits to covering it. But again, it's not the end of the world if you don't. Okay. All right, let's jump over and see what else we've got. Looks like we've got one other question here. Barb is saying, when is the best time to fertilize your garlic? I'll be planting in October. Okay, super good question, Barb. So if you've had a soil test that indicates that you've got a fertilizer issue, a nutrient issue, then you could fertilize with just a balanced fertilizer, something organic that's relatively level on the numbers. You could put that in at planting time. Okay, I don't do that. I don't normally fertilize at planting time. I will usually, just fertilize later on. So, but again, if you got a soil test that indicates you've got a problem, go ahead and fertilize. Do a little fertilizer in the fall. But normally for me is what I'm going to do is I'm going to fertilize in the spring. So once it's up and established, about 6 weeks before your last frost date. Sorry, about 6 weeks before your last frost date, you want to give it a good nitrogen fertilizer. So I will usually just water in some fish emulsion on top of the bed. Okay, and then at that time, I'm also going to top dress that bed with some compost, and that will kind of give it a good mulch. And if you don't have enough compost to do that, you could top dress with some grass clippings or, mulch with some straw or something like that. But we want to mulch that and, keep that moisture even. And then about the time your first frost comes along, you want to fertilize again with a high nitrogen fertilizer. Again, usually I will use fish emulsion. So the times that you're going to fertilize garlic, 6 weeks before your first frost date, 6 weeks before your last frost date, and about on your last frost date is when you're going to fertilize those. And then you're pretty good after that. So 2 relatively early freeze, or before your freeze dates will be good for you on that. Okay. All right. Okay, guys, thank you for being here. Just kind of looking at our comments here to see if we missed any. Sue's saying, I use brown paper bags to ripen my green tomatoes and other veggies and fruits. That's a good idea, Sue. Or I'm sorry, that's Sir Duke is saying that for Sue. That's a great idea. Is what that does is it concentrates those gases. I'm having a brain freeze. What's the name of the gas shoot, I can't remember the name of the gas. Ripening fruit puts off a gas, and when you go ahead and put them in a bag like that, it concentrates that ripening gases, and then they'll ripen quicker. So if you want to get them to ripen fast, that's a great idea. Really great idea. Okay, let's see what we've got. AJ, if you want, we could go maybe one more question if you see one. Doesn't look like, okay. Looks like we're probably done. Bags, sorry, just running through really quick to see if there's anybody. David's asking, there's something chewing my kale. Are insects killed at the first frost, or do they live till a hard freeze? It depends on the insect. Something that's chewing could easily be like a slug or a snail. They're going to probably do a pretty good job of surviving, the frosts. I've had slugs and snails make it all the way through the winter inside my cold frames. So it really kind of depends. You need to figure out what it is. So you need to catch them in the act. So it might be a good idea to go out at night and see if you can figure out what it is. And then we could talk about how you would treat that. Okay. All right. Any other questions? When in the spring, I'll go ahead and show this one. When in the spring do you turn over the cover crops, or do you have to let it die down? So good question, Holly. You want to give those cover crops a little bit of time for them to break down in the soil. So I would probably be looking at at least 2 or 3 weeks before you plan on planting is when you should kill off those cover crops. And turn them into the soil. That way, there'll be some time for them to kind of break down into the soil and return that organic material to the soil. So, at least 2 or 3 weeks before is kind of what you want to do there. Okay. All right, my friends, thank you for being here. Again, really quick reminder, let's go check out this organic gardening 3-course bundle that we just put together today. So we've got our organic natural pest control course, which is about 1 hour and 15 minutes long. That's a brand new course that we just put together today, this week. And then we have the organic fertilizers and amendments video course, which is about 55 minutes long. And then we've got a homemade composting course, which is about 45 minutes long. Those 3 are in this bundle together. Normally they would be $90 and they're on sale for only $45. Or if you would like to get all 3 of those courses, you can join the Gardening Academy, which we're 5 years today. We're celebrating 5 years today. And so if you would like to join the Gardening Academy, there's a link in the description of the video here as well that you can click on, and you can go join that for $20, which is $5 off. It's $20 a month. It's our monthly subscription service. And you would get all 3 of those courses as part of that membership. Okay. All right, my friends, thank you for being here. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy your fall gardens. We may try and do these, these little updates like this monthly. Look forward next month. We're going to do a webinar on microgreens. And then the following month, we're going to do a webinar on sprouts. So I'll be kind of advertising that. If you're not on my email list already, run over to our website and jump on our email list. That's ourstoneyacres.com, and you can get on our email list and we'll email you when those are planned. Those will be private events. They won't be on Facebook, but we'll be doing those next month. And then when we get into December and January, we're going to do seed starting. So we'll do some webinars on seed starting. So lots of fun stuff coming up over the winter while we're kind of taking a break from the main garden. And so I'll look forward to those. So we'll see you guys next month. And again, I'll kind of advertise that. We are going to do that one privately. So you will want to get on the email list. Rose is asking, are the courses free in the Gardening Academy or are they extra? If you join the Gardening Academy, you get those 3 courses for free. So it's a monthly commitment to be in the Gardening Academy, or you can join annually if you want. But yes, Rose, if you want to have those courses, they're part of the Gardening Academy. We pulled them out for this bundle, but they're still in the Gardening Academy. So 2 ways to join. If you want to commit to the membership, you can certainly do it that way, or you can do the bundle, either one. So, all right. Thanks, guys, for being here. Appreciate it. We had a good crowd the whole time. And so thank you for being here. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you later. Happy gardening. See ya.